Hello everybody, welcome back to From Rhythm to Algorithm. As you can see, we're still in the park. Continuing on with our derivation, not much introduction, looking for our definition of sentientality. We talked a bunch about base and basis, now we're finally at a point of our context. It really is important to point out that I've done all of these steps before. This isn't me doing this novelly, I'm trying to present it as my first time. I actually have to wait for the intuition to apply to all of these different concepts to do it naturally. But we talked about what's the difference between base and basis. We've proven now that basis is set. And so where does the word, right, I made the biggest jump, I would say, was connecting personally, because like I said, I'm always doing logical analysis of language even as I'm speaking. The stuff that I'm writing down is no different than the stuff I'm articulating with myself without writing it down. And so fundamentality being frequent. Whenever I say the word fundamental, right, if your word something is fundamental, it's most frequently used. And so that was a big thing. So basic is fundamental. And so is basic, that word basic, is that coming from the word basis or the word base? Basic is frequent. And so the things that change all of our physical properties in dimension 3 change, they modify, all black bodies radiate. And so the set thing is the basis, so it's not coming from basis, it's coming from base. So base, basic. We talked about base, well what's the opposite of a base now? Right? We talked about a bunch of, what is molarity last time? It's concentration. A molecular, the differentiation between a molecule and an atom isn't one. But what is the opposite of a base? Is an acid, right? So basic, acidic. Sentientality is basicality. Speciality is extra. Speciality is acidic. Sentientality, basic. Speciality, acidic. Connecting our definitions. But what is a first principle? I said I'm a first principle scientist. What is that? Right? Well, my first principle, as I put on the screen in the other episode, was everything is connected, but nothing is touching. Right? So first just means your most basic principle, something that is empirically evident. But are there more than one first principles? No. We all live in the same world, boys and girls. So evidently there can only be one first principle derivation. Not one first principle scientist, but it all has to start from the same first principle. And so if you don't start there, you can't even you can't even begin in this proofing method. Like you literally can't. So this is just a what the fuck. But a base is first. And so your first principle is your base principle, which is basic, which is sentientality. And so what is dynamicality? What is dynamic? What changes? All of the things that are not set, all of the things that are not permanent. And so everything in our dimensions, all of our physical systems are changing, they're dynamic. But in the past, it's all set, right? And so that's why you have past tense, this fundamental stability of 2, so on and so forth. What is a base to a baseline, right? Another one of these things where we just put in 2 words together. Baseline, right? Chemical, hydrogen is our chemical baseline, right? 1 proton. And we described how we can't measure that infinitesimally, 1 electron in a cube with the same diameter as the radius of the sphere, or the same length as the radius of the sphere. That's infinitesimally, that's physically immeasurable. And now hydrogen, 1 proton, is our chemical base. So now we've described all of the base of physics up until chemistry. And we reduce sentientality down to sality. Sality is saltality, right? Now we just say sentientality is salt, sality is salt, salt is saltality. Again, now we're just expanding out our definition. Saltality, tally. To tally is to count. And so again, we're like always proving theorems. Like when I say that saltality, that preserves the pronunciation of tally. To tally is to count. So I'm like completing the word, like any proof or theorem that could be derived from that word transition. I don't know. It's hard. Some of this stuff's hard to formalize. Again, we have from reading my book, prologue and epilogue, right? From algorithm, or from rhythm to algorithm, logarithm, algorithm, epilogue, prologue. So like again, we have this another manifestation in the use of the word log. Like what's going on there? Again, this time it's beginning and end, right? Rhythm to algorithm, logarithm to algorithm. beginning to end, base to range. Something's going on there. Why log? Why cylindrical? A log is a cylinder. What is the relationship between tone and time? Is there a right time? There's a time and place for everything, specifically meant to criticize someone or to be more critical of their behavior. Sorry, a bunch of geese just landed in the background. Still got to solve Navier-Stokes one of these days. but there's a time and place, right? That's kind of what I'm getting at with that. When I'm saying we all have the same experiences, like you can use completely different words, but the intuition that you're getting at is exactly the same. Right? What's the relationship between tone and time? There's a time and place. So what's the relationship between place and tone? That's right. You can criticize people more that you know, or more at your own house, or stuff like that. What is the opposite of monotony? Dynamicality, right? If it's monotonous, it doesn't change. It's completely consistent, right? If it differentiates, it's no longer completely consistent, it's different. If it's monotonous, it's completely consistent. If it's dynamic, it changes. Monotony is uniformity. Dynamicality is not uniform. Again, so we're trying to break this tautology of you define one thing in the same way we have optimism, pessimism, cynicism, and that kind of like builds. That's the same thing. And one of these times it's not going to be tautology, it's going to be our new axiom. And then this whole proof will be reduced. Not going to anticipate when that's going to happen. How does polarity, that is charge, affect equilibrium? Right, because now we can assess that from the atomic level all the way down to our internal structure of the electron that you can't even calculate. But how does polarity affect equilibrium? Because again, your neutrons, they have internal charge distribution. Neutron doesn't even exist as is right now. So again, your base 2 is your charge distribution, 2 charges, positive, negative. But again, equilibrium has to be stable, but it has to be open to some extent. In the same way, an electron or a proton is not completely stable. You still have in your calculations, it will decay over X amount of time, and it's a really big fucking time, or a long amount of time. That's just the evidence of things always being open, but still being really, really stable. In the same way, it's like your treasury bonds and your financial markets aren't guaranteed by anything. You know, the United States can go away, but if the whole United States goes away, you have bigger fucking problems than 3% or 4% on your T-bonds. And so, just making more connections logically. But polarity and equilibrium, because you're going to have discrepancy. You're always going to have geometric discrepancy, and you're always going to have, because of geometric discrepancy, you're going to have distribution of charge, or any of these stabilized 2 magnets or charge is always going to be dynamic. Don't really know what else to say to progress that there. What is the relationship of polarity and chirality? And chirality is, again, this flip is kind of like the operative word, but that's not even well defined. Inversion, asymmetry is kind of, I guess, the most operative word. But polarity, charge, and superimposability, polarity and symmetry, right? There's nothing else to say. It's just one of those words you can't break down. You just have to intuitively understand, I guess. Or then I'm missing something, or I don't know. But charge and geometric structure, well, geometric structure is more fundamental than charge, or kind of gets they stabilize at the same time, or it doesn't really matter. Or I just don't know what to say to progress that logic. Moving on. Molarity amounts, right? Molarity is a concentration, how many moles of solute, why is it a mole, some sort of physical dynamic limit thing. But it's even at a size or a scale that we would consider more accessible than like the 10 to the minus, that's a time, but it's not 10 to the minus 36, which there's I don't know, something's going on there. Don't know what to say, but molarity amounts, right? The more solute you put in there, it's going to amount to a higher concentration. Speciality is radicality, right? We have this phrase, free radicals causes inflammation in biology, in pharmacology, and medicine. So what's a free radical, right? It's just an ion channel. I don't know if it's potassium or what element to put to it, but it causes disruption. It causes disruption to that dynamic process of stability, of how your body's naturally supposed to function. So a free radical causes inflammation. Inflammation is just increased temperature, but it's disorder, it's chaotic, it's asymmetric. I don't really know what else to say there. But truly, to break down the logic of like medicine is trivial. I mean, it's truly trivial. To not put me into a room with a bunch of surgeons and doctors, they can bring all of their arrogance they want. It will be fucking hilarious. But to get to a point where I can definitely say, this is definitively wrong, and here are the 3, 4, 5, 6 questions you definitively need to answer to get to this next step. In all medicine, in all ontology, I can and do all fucking day. I mean, it's trivial to me. It's objectively trivial. So good thing I'm not doing that shit. That's useful. But now to get more to our derivation again with sensorality, which we've now broken down to just sality, and now we're expanding that back out. Sality is salient. Sality is salientality. Salientality is sensorality. Salient, silent. Sensorality desensitizes. Sensorality with a C is silent. Sality salivates. What is salivationality? Salivation, salvation. Another one of those dichotomous pairs, you just remove that I. Salvation, this big term in religious ontology, which again is just ontology from the past. It's not any different. And it's not a big guy in the sky flying around gonna save you or hurt you. Jesus fucking Christ. But if you take out the I from salivation, you get salvation. Another one of those pairs you probably haven't connected. But salivating moisturizes. See, now it's very here in my intellectual discoveries is when I can make a lot of different sexual jokes. And so what is salivating and what is moisturizing? Where is the moisture coming from? Who is salivating? There's a lot of ways I could take that theorem. But there's a homework assignment. You write, respond in 3 to 5 paragraphs. Salivating moisturizes. That's all you get. Go. But sentiment, sentient, right? We've talked about sentimentality. Now take out that I. Or no, excuse me, take out the M, right? Sentiment, take out the M, you get sentient. And so remove the M. Sentientality is salient. Consciousness, life is important. Life is relevant. Life is the most new thing, right? What has more rights? The ground, like the pile of dirt, or Brad? Well, that's a bad analogy because Brad doesn't have any rights. But how about you? The person watching or the rock on the ground? What has more value? What has more life? What has more rights? But that's what I mean by sentientality is salient. Salient being important, sentient being life. Sality, sentientality. Sentientality is essentiality. Right? Life is essential. Why does life exist? Because it's essential. It's just how you have to discover the world around you to be more efficient. I discovered a lot of fucking idiots building super colliders and lying about science. That was fun. So I don't get a wife. That's awesome. But sensorality is essential. And so again, we preserve that logic. You're following me. I know you're following me. I'll put some words on the screen, but you don't really need them. But now linguistically, sensorality is essential. Sentiality, right? You can see we're literally just, I'm showing you the preservation of logic, but all I'm doing at this point is trivially iterating the letters of these different words. And so it won't be trivial once this new axiom pops out, because then we get to start this whole process again, and we'll be moving on to my 4th axiom with no dollars. That really stinks. I'm smiling and I'm joking, but someone just give me some fucking money. Because I'm still sitting over here, it's like, if the government shut down, nice. But like, I want to participate in society. My rights are actually fucking destroyed. And so it's like, if one joker from the IRS sees one of my Bitcoin trades or something and ticky-tacks and sends me a letter, I'm gonna lose my fucking shit. So team, we can do basically whatever we want. I just wanna make it very poignantly clear. All I want to do is research. I've earned it. It's my fucking money. And when I still have medical bills, because I made a whole fucking lecture series about not having constitutional rights, and then I have this bullshit thing, and then I'll just fuck all that. I'll make a whole video on that shit. My interacting with doctors. Because my synesthesia doesn't turn off when I go into the doctor's office. And it is just, it's unacceptable. It's like I want to be Grandpa Brad and slam my foot down and say, this is a bunch of crock of shit. And we need to gather around the table and have some serious conversations. Just on the whole medicine apparatus is fucked. But I'll do a whole video on that. But preserving, I forget what I was going to say. Oh, but just team, we can do whatever we want, who I know is watching all of my shit all of the time. Make sure, if you do whatever you have to do to make sure I don't get another fucking letter in the mail. Because even if it's just me, again, crime is actually a tax right. You can actually write off on your taxes crime. This entire fucking country was built on no taxation without representation. You know my rights are violated. As long as you don't fuck with me again, I have enough fixed income just to make these videos, which is all I want to do. Leave me the fuck alone if you're not going to pay me or publish. And do whatever you need to do to make sure I don't get one more fucking bill that is fucking fraud. Because that doesn't, those are lawsuits. I'm not even making videos that's just pure you get fucked. Doctors, lawyers, business owners. I'm not choosing to be in this state, in this country. When I have to go to a medical practitioner, I don't get to pick where do I go. And the insurance in this fucking country is a joke. I don't have constitutional rights. This is a fucking carnival. And I've made more value past money than any of you fuckers combined. So I can't be more direct with that. Team, we can do whatever we want. Make sure not one more, any of these little bills that you see my name pop up, you make sure that shit goes away. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.